Hey, good morning, Bobcats. Welcome back to the Startup Stories podcast. Thanks for tuning in. We're here every Wednesday, 9 a.m. sharp on the dot. All right, last week we met Caden Lytle. He's the CEO of Boardbound Waco, and he's a super cool guy. We were talking about how he established his industry or how he established his company in such a competitive market. There's a lot of competition in the wake surfing industry, which is what he does. And he sort of like managed to carve out his own niche. So there's a lot of cool stuff about that. There's cool stuff about how he really balanced enjoying life with friends and family and, grinding on his business, doing stuff like that. A lot of time management, purpose fulfillment kind of stuff. But today, I want to keep that going. I'm excited to introduce an entrepreneur who's been doing a lot of side hustles. So he's explored a bunch of different ways to make money, a bunch of different types of stuff. And over the years, he's done selling firewood, flipping valuable coins, even middlemaning labor companies in need. And through all of it, he's gained a wealth of knowledge. I'm super excited to have you on. Please welcome John Biegel.
Thank you, Aaron. I really appreciate the kind words. You're hyping me up to be a pretty decent guy, I guess.
Yeah. So, just diving straight in, I want to get to know like your background, like where do you come from?
Yeah.
How did you like get into entrepreneurship?
Yeah.
And side hustles.
Yeah. That's a really great question. I know this might sound cliche. I don't know if I chose entrepreneurship or entrepreneurship chose me, man. But when I was about 4 years old, me and my brothers, we would pick up large rocks and we'd go door to door and try to sell them to people in our neighborhood.
Selling rocks?
Yeah.
Okay.
5 a.m. I was door knocking at age 5, man. So I don't know why I did it, but I just had that ambition in me from a very young age. I thought rocks might be worth something. I learned they're not, but people still would give me a nickel or a dime. So I felt pretty rich back then. And that was my first business as a little kid, right? Fast forward, 5th grade, 6th grade, I'm 11, 12 years old. I think the first business where I made more than a coin here or there was selling fruit on the side of the road. I grew up in the island of Maui, so beautiful place. And my parents had, I want to say 6 or 7 full-grown mango trees on our property. So the only option was pick up the mangoes when they're dead on the ground and throw them in the trash can, or pick them on the tree and go sell them. Now, I'm 11 years old, no phone, no car, no bank account, right? So, pretty bare bones business to begin with. But I realized, hey, I have something that's valuable to people. All right, I got to sell it. So I would stand on the side of the road, no sign, no booth, nothing. I would just hold up the fruit, and people would pull over and pay me, $3 a mango or so. And I could make, $50 in 3 or 4 hours on the side of the road, which is like winning the lottery when you're in 5th grade. So that was my first business. I made
much candy you can buy with that.
Oh yeah, I was buying the whole team candy after that. 1 good hour, man, and it was awesome. And when you're little, people love to support you and just give you money. So did that for a while actually, and my family is still in the mango business. We still sell a few thousand pounds of mangoes every year, and it's that's like my
Thousands of pounds of mango.
Yeah. That'll be my retirement job, is just selling fruit. I love it. It's just so peaceful. Pick it off the tree and sell it to somebody. Everybody's happy to see you because you're giving them fresh fruit. But fast forward a little bit more, I get into middle school, get into high school. You're just focusing on school and sports. So not really much going on in the business wise. But then I graduated high school and I read the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Have you read that before?
I have, yeah. Robert
Kiyosaki. Fun fact, he's also from Hawaii.
Right.
Yeah, so he got his roots started doing conferences at like hotels on every island and just kind of like promoting his book and stuff. So obviously he's a celebrity now. But my mom said, hey, you need to read this book. I read the book. Really was a mind shift on how I looked at money and my time, actually, more importantly. Optimizing. Most people in their life are going to just trade X amount. They get X amount of dollars for working X number of hours.
Right.
It's the only way they ever make money.
Rat race.
The rat race. And look, if you're a doctor making $500,000 a year, it's actually a pretty decent trade. 40 hours for $500,000 a year.
Right.
But I realized, like in my life, time is actually like the only thing I can't get infinite of. I can get infinite money. I can get infinite whatever I want. But my time is extremely limited. I have 80 years essentially. And by the time I was out of high school, a quarter of my time had been gone. So how do I optimize that going forward was kind of my perspective change. And so I was working fast food at the time. It was chill, whatever. You're 16, 17 years old. You don't need a crazy job. But I quit that job and I said, all right, I have a high school degree, basically no skills, to be honest, right? But what can I do? Well, my dad been making me do landscaping my whole life around the house. That has to be worth something, right? So I start door knocking in my neighborhood. Let's say there's 40, 50 houses in my neighborhood. Let's say 50. 49 houses said no. 50th house said, yeah, I have a job for you today. And that was my first client, who is still like somebody I'm very close with to this day. He's a really great guy, good neighbor. And he said, I didn't know anything. He's like, how much do you charge? I was like, he's like, I'll pay you $20 an hour. I was like, deal. $20 an hour cashed in 2021 I was like, mind blown. $20 an hour, right? At the time I had started working at Whataburger when I was in high school for like 11 an hour. So I felt like I was the richest man in the world at that point. So here I am. I got one client. And then I have no tools. I have a truck. And he just says, all right, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. And he taught me a lot of things. And he also really just established like, hey, you should value your time appropriately. Don't ever give out, not necessarily discounts, but he essentially taught me, let's say a client was like, John, I want to pay you 15 an hour. You have to pass on stuff like that because you have to appropriately value your time and keep that consistent with everybody. And so from there, I just kept going, door knocking, getting referrals. I've never spent a single dollar on advertisement in my entire life. I built that landscaping company and, 30, 40 clients, just purely off of door knocking and referrals. And, it's been extremely fruitful for me. I've gone from 20 an hour to 50 an hour. It's just like the best thing ever. And that was that main business. Some of the other things, like, we mentioned, I saw an opportunity to sell firewood. I had all this firewood sitting around because one of my specialties in landscaping was chopping trees. I'm really good at that. So I had all this firewood sitting around. What I do? Something that's valuable, you sell it, right? Story of my life. So started that little side hustle. Yeah, coins. That's a hobby of mine. I knew where to find value and when a coin was undervalued or overvalued and how to connect the two. And that was just a little hobby.
Oh, you middleman the coins, or you would like
buy and then resell. Okay, yeah. So I knew when somebody was undervaluing it and when somebody would pay more.
Is it like you would find a buyer before you would buy the coin?
Nah, I would if I saw something at a discount, I would buy it and know eventually I'd be able to get the full value for it. That's more of a hobby. Like, I don't consider that a job. That's just a hobby that makes me some good money. So, and then pivoting forward in my life where I'm going to be going is another type of entrepreneurship. Being a financial advisor, it's a lot of the same fundamentals of you got to build clientele. You have to develop relationships and you have to expand from there, and you have to be really knowledgeable about, your subject. But in this, I kind of continue the same thing of building a business and helping people actually optimize their time. Because like I've said, you'll have so many years to live. A lot of people don't want to waste 50 hours a year handling their finances. They'd rather hire somebody to do that. And so as I scale forward in that business, that's kind of a big mindset thing for me. Is a lot of people are optimizing for money when they're lower income and middle income. But what I've learned is as you make more and more money, the money becomes less relevant, and your time is actually the priceless thing. So that's a very long, short spiel on who I am and kind of my story and my background in an entrepreneurial sense.
Yeah. So you talked a lot about valuing time.
Yeah.
When you were saying that you would that your first client kind of taught you how to turn down $15, when you're worth 20 or 25.
Yeah.
How did you actually do that without, or how'd you fight that urge of being like, like I don't want to be mean. I don't want to turn down a client.
Yeah.
I don't want to ruin this relationship.
Yeah, that's a really great question. And it gets even harder because it gets harder when you have to go to existing clients and say, hey, I've raised my rate from $20 an hour to $30 an hour.
Yeah.
That's another thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if do you know who Alex Hormozy is?
No, I don't. Oh, I do actually.
Phenomenal guy. I read a few of his books, and he says optimally in business, about 10 to 15% of prospective clients should think your product is too expensive, because that's how you know you're pricing it appropriately, where a little bit of people are going to be turned away, but you're getting a lot of value you're getting kind of your maximum dollar value out of the other clients. And so that's kind of the perspective I look at. Also, very interestingly, usually the people who care the most about the price are also the most picky on quality of service, like nitpicky in a sense. So when it comes to valuing your time and talking to people about that, well, you gotta realize also their time value as well. Mm-hmm. If I'm mowing somebody's lawn for $50 an hour, that person's time is probably actually worth more than $50 an hour. Realistically, if they're a doctor, an attorney, an engineer, they probably make $200 an hour. And so it's very difficult for a lot of people to comprehend this. But that doctor that makes $200 an hour is essentially losing money if he were to go mow his own lawn, opposed to paying me $50 to do it. Right. And when people get that perspective shift, it really helps you optimize your life. It really helps you cut out dumb things like scrolling on TikTok or just watching YouTube, because you're like, dang, I lost X amount of dollars on whatever your own personal time valuation is. So yeah, I don't know if that fully answered your question, but getting a good dollar amount in your mind on, hey, this is what my time is worth, I think it's a life-changing perspective.
Yeah. How do you actually, so that was great, phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to kind of know how exactly you sort of like tell your clients, like, hey, sorry, I can't do that. Like I can't do 15. I have to do.
Yeah. I've lost a couple clients over price changes or whatever you want to call it. You just say, hey, this is what I'm charging. I mean, for me, for landscaping, I'll just spiel. I would do, hey, I have to be consistent with all my clients. I'm charging all my other clients $50 an hour. And on top of that, I'm giving you a lot of these extra free little services that I'm not giving to other people. Just to be consistent with them. Are you comfortable paying this? If not, I totally understand. But I have to prioritize. I have to be fair to everybody.
Kind of like negotiate on something other than price.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. And most people, I mean, literally most people do not, I mean, within reason, almost nobody is going to say, yeah, you were worth 30, but you were not worth $35 an hour.
Right.
But some people will, and that's okay. They're usually nitpicky. So you need to know when to walk away from a client. And it might feel like leaving money on the table, but you're really saving yourself time and money.
Mm-hmm. How much did you end up making in the landscaping business or side hustle?
I made a few dollars. We'll keep that off the record. Fair. But I'll just say this: I didn't work 40 hours a week in this, but cool little math tip for everybody is take your hourly rate, multiply it by 2, multiply it by 1,000. If you work a 40-hour week, that's your annual salary. So if you make $25 an hour, you multiply that by 2, that's 50. Right. Times 1,000, you make $50,000 a year on a 40-hour work week, 50 weeks a year.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, very interesting math thing.
Yeah.
So
weird.
Yeah, very weird, very weird. But that's just how I just did the math one day and I was like, oh wow, that's a weird coincidence. So for everybody out there who's thinking of starting their own business and they say, I want to make X $1,000 per year, how much do I have to charge? Just reverse engineer that and that get your hourly rate.
Yeah. What made you decide that you didn't want to do landscaping? Like you wanted to do something else?
Yeah. Well, straight up, I never actually like enjoyed landscaping.
Okay. That's fair.
I did it for 3-ish years.
In high school?
My first 3 years of college, really.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. So you did it here at Texas State?
Yeah, I did it in San Marcos, and in Austin, both.
How'd you build that client base?
Door knocking and referrals, man. Door knocking and referrals.
Yeah.
That's all you need. You don't need to, maybe I know a guy who does ads for service-based businesses, and it's actually a good value thing. I just never spent the money on it, but you can grow a business purely off of door knocking and asking for referrals. Like it's super doable. I did it.
If your target market was more like doctors, lawyers, and attorneys,
not a lot of those here.
Not a lot of those here.
Yeah, there's still, you got to go to the right neighborhoods and
know your audience.
And even still, I mean, even still, when it comes to landscaping, it's like, all right, besides their time valuation, they also have to buy a lawnmower, a weed eater, a leaf blower. So that's like, $700-800 a cost. And it's not fun. Like nobody, landscaping is not great. So yeah, that kind of is another incentive on why people hire it out. Also, old people just can't physically do it. That's a very popular one as well. But for me, my passion is actually being a financial advisor. Like that's all I want to do, and I really enjoy that. Landscape is just a money thing for me.
Yeah. How did you discover financial advising and get into it?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So funny enough.
Also, what is financial advising, just for the audience?
Yeah, there's a million words to describe the industry I want to work in. The niche, the area I want to work in more might be more commonly known as wealth management. Right. So a little larger dollar amounts and helping maintain, protect that, and minimize the tax burden on the clients for those things. Loosely speaking, financial advisor, somebody who helps manage your money, whether that's your investments, your insurance, your tax strategizing. They don't do your taxes. It's not an accountant, but tax strategizing, making sure you have enough in your budget, those kind of basic things, helping people handle their money.
Okay.
And so I always loved managing my money. And I was like, I loved just talking to people about it. For free. And I just love to be like, oh, you should, like, this is a good thing. This is a good thing. And I love just educating on how to handle money, protect money, grow money, and pay the least amount in taxes. And then someone was like, that's like a job you could get in like a major. And I was like, really? Like people will pay me for this? And they're like, yeah, it's actually extremely in demand. It's very sought after, and not a lot of people are going into that industry, especially young people. So there's huge opportunity there. I was like, I've been doing this for free. So like, yeah, I'd love to get paid for this. And so that kind of just, I just went down that rabbit hole. I'm just obsessed with it. I am the kind of guy who I listen to podcasts about the changes in the tax code. I'm just like study this all the time. Like it's like my favorite hobby, but it's also my job at the same time.
How did you get into this?
How did I get into just being obsessed with it?
Yeah. Is it just high school thing?
I think it was like, well, when I discovered I wanted to do the career, it was in college. But when it came to how did I just get interested in learning about money, I think two things. When we go back to valuing your time and you only have so many years to live, I knew I needed to be very wise with my money and steward it properly so that I didn't have to essentially work my whole life. Like that was fundamental number one. Like I didn't want to work all 80 years. Sadly, a lot of people work until their 70s. They run out of money. They have to live with their kids. Like a lot of people, a large portion of Americans are not properly saving, investing, and planning to retire. That's just a statistical fact. So me, I knew I never wanted to do that. And I never wanted money to be a factor that controlled me in the sense of I didn't want to miss my best friend's birthday party. I didn't want to miss, my kid's basketball game, little stuff like that. I never wanted to have to go work a job because I couldn't, I couldn't be there because I had to go work a job.
Right.
And so I got to the point where I was like, okay, first I need to focus on how to make money. Okay, that was landscaping.
That was the side hustles.
I could have made a lot if I just did landscaping the rest of my life. I could have made hundreds of $1,000s per year. People might not believe that, but it was just a fact. I contemplated dropping out of college at one point because the money was that enticing.
Wow.
But I just am obsessed with financial advising. I love it that much. And I got to that because, all right, I have all this money sitting around now. What do I do with it, right? How do I hate taxes. Inflation sucks, so I need my money to grow. And what if something bad happens to me and my money goes down for one reason or another? So growing, protecting, and minimizing the tax burden on my money, it became a front of mind issue to me and a front of focus problem that I was dealing with. And then I just found I just found joy for it. It's hard to explain where joy comes from, but I just fell in love with doing it, and so I just became obsessed with it. Changed my major to personal financial management. Just kind of went all in, deep diving and learning as much as I can. And I can say with 100% certainty, the rest of my life, I will not work in another industry or do another job. Like, I love it that much.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Do you plan on ever opening your own financial advisory firm in the future?
Yeah, it's a really great question. So interestingly, each financial advisor is essentially a small business within a bigger company.
Right.
If you go work for name any big name, broker, dealer, whatever, they are essentially providing you with software and office and some guidelines and, maybe a little bit of a base salary or something like that. You are building your own business however you want. They never say you have to take this client or you can't take this client. You say, these are the type of clients I want to attract and serve. I'm going to bring them in. These are the hours I want to work. These are the days I want to work. Things like that. You get a lot of freedom in that. So you're a business inside a bigger business, if that makes sense.
Gotcha.
Nobody says, hey, you can't grow anymore. Yeah, a lot of freedom, which is very appealing of the industry for me. Circling back to, hey, I never want to miss my friend's birthday, kid's basketball game. If I know, hey, my friend's birthday is Friday the 14th, I can say, all right, I'm not working Friday the 14th. It's just something like that. But in the sense of would I ever break away and create John Biegel wealth management? Mm-hmm. Maybe. I don't know. Potentially.
It's too far out there.
Yeah, very far out there. And it's not a huge shift. Really what it is you might make it's super complicated. In short summary, it's just it's more of a branding thing. So whatever your optimal branding is, whether it's with a company or if it's with your own name, it's kind of more so the path. Yeah.
Gotcha. Just your generally throughout your career so far, whether it was landscaping or wealth management, did you ever reach a point where you really felt like, wow, this is so difficult, I feel like giving up, like it's a lot of work?
Yes. Because
you sound very disciplined, and so it's like, how do you keep that going? How do you keep that motivation, or how do you keep that consistency?
Yeah, that's a super great question. So to answer your question shortly and then expand on it, every single day. Basically, in the early stages, you want to quit. Like I said, when I door knocked that landscaping company, I knocked 49 doors, either didn't answer or said no. And I kept knocking, and number 50 was the one, right?
Right.
That ratio actually, sadly, is pretty consistent on
wealth management.
Not on wealth management. I'm continuing my landscaping. Yeah. Wealth management is actually a better ratio than 50 to 1. Yes. So like wealth management might be 10 to 1 or something. Mm-hmm. So when I see 10 to 1, I'm like, oh, this is so awesome.
Oh, this is easy. I was doing landscaping for
50 to 1, dude. I was dying on 50 to 1. But what drives me, if that's the big overall question, dude, I know it's gonna sound like cliche, like everybody's gonna think John's some weird dude or whatever. But it's actually freedom. Freedom to live how I want to live. And I don't want to live like a crazy life. I'm not like saying I need a yacht and a Ferrari. But it, like the little things, like I said, go to my friend's birthday party, make my kid's basketball game. I just want that freedom. And I want the freedom to hop on podcasts and say whatever I want. Yeah. And I realize it does take a certain dollar amount to do those things. And so I'm very happy with where I am in life, but I'm not like, this is where I'm trying to go. I'm trying to go farther. So it's just the grind. I don't know, dude. We used to chase down mammoths with wooden spears and kill them. So I can knock on a door and talk to a stranger, right? Like humanity used to be way harder. So I really, I look at a very small price for a very large reward, I guess.
Gotcha. Like a long-term viewpoint.
Long-term vision, yeah.
Kind of saying that this will pay dividends later on.
Exactly.
Like it's really not that bad. Like it's worth doing.
Yeah, it's worth suffering for a year or two now to have, 30, 40, 50 years of the best life ever, opposed to the alternative, sadly, that most people go through is no really, really hard years, but just like years for 50, right? So if I have to give up my 20s working hard, great. The rest of my life is going to be awesome.
Yeah. When it came to both, so you've already done your internship, right? So you've worked a little bit in capital advisory or financial advising?
Yeah, a year in financial services, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you already started building your own client base in that?
Yep. That's hard. But like I said, hey, it's 10 to 1 instead of 50 to 1. So I stay pretty positive. Same thing. You reach out to people and you ask for referrals, man. The financial services industry as a whole is part of it is like, all right, you got to be smart at finances, baseline, right? But me and so many people who are really, really good at finances, but they're very poor at reiterating their knowledge to others in a way that doesn't come off as I'm smarter than you, right?
Right.
Everybody knows the finance bro that loves throwing acronyms around, and stuff like that. So it's very difficult to have that good knowledge and iterate it to most people. And it's a relationship business more so than anything. People have to trust you, right? They're going to listen to you with their money that they worked very hard for. So you need to, be a good guy, but actually genuinely care about them as well as a person. What I find a lot of people go wrong is they look at it transactionally. Hey, I'm going to provide X financial service to you and you provide me with X amount of dollars. Not how it needs to be. It needs to be, hey, I'm going to help you financially. You're 25 years old. You're going to live to be 85. I want to be there the next 60 years by your side, supporting you through this whole journey. And I think when people are able to see that I genuinely care about them, and I genuinely do, like from the bottom of my heart, I have nothing but good wishes for everybody I work with. It makes the process so much smoother. They give you so many good references, and they really will stick with you and just like value you and what you have to offer. When it doesn't click for people, if people think you're coming off transactionally, nobody ever will really side with you. I genuinely don't think anybody actually likes to be sold anything. I could offer you 100 mangoes for $10, but if I'm pushy, it's just your red flags are gonna go off, right? But if I'm like, hey, dude, we become friends. I'm like, oh, I got some mangoes if you want to buy them. And you're like, oh, how much? And I'm like, $5 a mango. You're like, cool, right? Because it's a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that really carries over to financial advising, is genuinely caring about them, genuinely wanting to be with them for the whole journey, not just 1 year, not just their last year, whatever, the whole journey. And just, being able to converse with them complex topics on a really simple basis, I guess.
Yeah. Cool. I got 2 final questions for you before we wrap this up.
Let's go.
One of them is, what do you think the most valuable insight you've gotten from door-to-door sales has been, because I think that that's something that a lot of people could learn a lot from. And what advice would you give to, some entrepreneur who's starting up their own business, doing something,
Yeah.
similar?
Yeah. I think stop quitting, straight up. Like, stop quitting. People quit too early. I knocked 49 doors. 50th one was the client, right? In financial services, I had no clients for 3 months. By the end of the year, I recently won an award, number one in all the southern states for my company. So Texas to Washington, D.C., no college guy brought on more clients than me because I kept going. I wanted to quit every single day for 3 months because I got no clients. But you keep going, you keep doing things, you keep being a good person. Like you will be, like, God will provide for you. Just keep doing the right thing every day. And I think a lot of people get very disgruntled, and people take things very personally. I never take something personally, whether it's financial services or whether it's landscaping. If somebody doesn't want my services, they don't even know me, so they can't hate me as a person, right? They're just not interested in product X or product Y, and that's fine. Like, not every product is for everybody. You want to find the right people who genuinely value you and just stick with them as clients. And so whether it's your door-to-door selling solar or roofing, or whether you're building a landscaping business, a house cleaning business, I don't know, any business, real estate, be consistent and be a genuine person.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for coming on.
Of course, man. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Before we wrap things up, I want to dive into the news segment. Okay. Tomorrow should be the Thursday where we have the Bobcat Bazaar, 2:30, LBJ Mall. Turn up, be there, be square. Even if you're not selling stuff as a small entrepreneur, stop by. We got a ton of small businesses over there selling some stuff, some cool stuff. So if you're trying to support your community, your fellow Bobcats, turn up. If you have a small business and you're trying to sell something yourself, or you want to get in contact with the person who's running it, his name's Connor Ward. And I don't know, maybe just we'll drop his email in the description below, and you can just hit him an email that way. But yeah, thanks for tuning in, guys. Take care.